My name's Tim Davidson. I was born in Ipswich. I live now in a place called Hampton Wick. I did a prison sentence. It was quite a few years. But I was on remand a lot of the time, 9 months, because they didn't convict, they couldn't get the conviction. They had to get everything together. And there was an officer, we call him a screw, in the scrubs. And he suggested to me, he said, "You've got a lot of time behind them bars, so for something to do as a hobby." I said, "Yeah, but I like weight training." "You're not going to get out to the gym," he said all the time. "Why don't you start writing your life, about your life?" So I got a pad and pen and started writing. I was born on the 1st of the 5th, 1952.
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I got a brother, Peter,
Older or
younger, 1 year younger.
How long did you live in Ipswich for?
Well, we had a bit of a rough ride because my father threw my mum out because she was carrying on, which in our eyes we didn't really know. But and he wasn't very happy about it. So we had a flat above a cafe in London, a place called London Road in Ipswich. And she came in one day. It was a big flood. I remember it. As it happened. It was in August. And actually it was near my brother's birthday. And she was going to take us to the pictures.
1955?
Yeah. Yeah, so my father just said, she came in. And he was mending an old wireless with the valves. You don't get them nowadays. All this tech. Smart. So, and he was very clever with things, motor mechanic, and an engineer. So he actually said to her, "You might be taking the boys to the beaches. So where have you been?" No. And she just said, "I've been out." He said, "Wherever you've been, you can go back." She actually came to Twickenham because her mum's here. And she worked in the hospital. It's a nursing home in West Mid. Anyhow, I mean, we didn't see her, we didn't hear from her. I think she wrote to my father, I don't know. But he wouldn't have her back. Then he went out one day and he was having a drink by the docks. And he's not really a drinker. And he got in a bit of a tussle and he hit this bloke. So the police were looking for him, and this woman actually took him home. And he met this lady, Marjorie, and she took him in. And she had 3 boys, Mark, Julian and Bobby. And Julian was my age and Bobby was Peter's age. We was actually then in a flat on our own. So nobody came to us, me and my brother. And then the welfare came and broke the door down. And they took us to a home, and I was with this lady called Mrs. Coombs. It was all right. I mean, she took to my brother, but didn't take to me. And she started to hit me, and I kicked her. So that didn't go down very well. And then she threatened to put me in the shed to sleep. So then I knew I had to be, that's my P's and Q's, they say.
So how old was you then?
It's about 5, maybe 4, getting on for 5, maybe 4. Anyhow, so my aunt came, and this lady, Mrs. Coombs, she saved all our sixpences in a jar, and she gave us them when we left. She cried. I didn't. Peter did. He lied to her.
Yeah.
Because she didn't hit him. She only hit me. Then we moved to Bournemouth. We lived with one of her relations. I'll never forget her relation. Oh, God. There was paraffin. She smoked. Oh, it was terrible. And my father, he used to beat me because if I was bad, if I got up early before them. Very, very, very strict. Very strict. He had, if I remember rightly, he got a piece of shrapnel wedged in his back with the army. I think that's what it was. I mean, my brother said he was actually from Mauritius, but then when I speak to my father, he told me he was from South Africa. And we went up there, they looked for a house and he had a good job. We got a nice house, big beautiful house, semi-detached. We had everything we wanted, scooters, golf clubs, everything we wanted. But he got into a lot of debt, which you don't know when you're young, you don't see it. I remember the school we went to, it was called Longfleet School. And I believe that had been our junior. Anyhow, I was a bit of a rogue, to say the least.
You couldn't settle in school?
Not really. I'd be fighting, getting hit.
Right.
Teacher hit me with always a ruler. Yeah, loved the ruler they did. I mean, as a kid, if I remember rightly, he kept kicking my chair at the back. And I got up and threw the chair at him. And the teacher had a headache. So they had to call my father to come and get me. She said she couldn't handle me. So I was in front of the class at that age, reprimanded. But they could see how I was. But we always used to go to school all dressed, smart. Nice Cadbury twill trousers, blue jumper, jumping boots, like Chelsea boots, little boots. Very smart, always. Then one day we woke up. There was a knock at the door. There's a removal man. So my father hadn't paid some of the bills. So some of the stuff started going out. And we was sitting on boxes. Sitting on boxes. And then one day he just said, I'm going to take you to your mother. A place called Twickenham. So we drove, dark, night, and my mum was living with this Irish fella. He actually said, when we got into the house, we called him Dad. I don't know if we did or not. But he seemed all right. He was a boxer in the army and he boxed in the booths at Hampton Court. So he brought me and my brother back up on boxing. You know, we was with my mum. I mean, she was glad to see us, which is logical. Then she had to get us into a school, a place called St Mary's, which is down in Amen Park Road, Twickenham.
Yeah.
And that's when the fun began. It was unusual for them to see two coloured boys. So, as we was walking through the playground, this boy said, called my brother, Chocolate Face. So I literally jumped on him and started banging his head on the ground and hitting him. His name was Jones, I'll never forget it. We were the best mates in the end as we got older. Anyhow, the headmistress, she had us in the office because my mum had to see her before we enrolled. I never enrolled in the school. And she turned around and said to my mum, why are you bringing your boys here? What? I can't put up with this. Well, I got him. Because we used to live near the graveyard in Twickenham. And we used to play over there and he was there. Come out. He lived there. And as he come over, they all heard about it. So they made like a circle. So we had a fight and I banged his head. Even at that age I was just hitting him. Because survival. Anyhow, they stopped the fight. And my stepfather, he heard about it. So he took me out on the lawn. And he said to me, I'm going to teach you to box. So he taught me. And I used to get walloped because he was short and I was little like that. But he used to fight like Jay O'Sullivan, like this. And he said to me, put your hands up. Put your hands up and you defend yourself. Now the boy in the end, we all used to play over the graveyard all the time. And we actually did become very good friends. And he was sorry for what he said to my brother. And we had to go to the same school, so we had to be. So yeah, we got on. I got his mum. You know, then I think they realised what had happened. A lot of people did, but I wouldn't take any shit. Yeah, so you know, we was getting all right, and then one day, my mum was having an argument with my stepfather. He was drunk, and he threw a candlestick at her. So I said to my brother, "We're leaving." He said, "When are we leaving?" I said, "We're going to leave. Do it late at night. Take our shoes off, and we just walk up the road." And we walked all through these alleys. I don't put them on until we get to Twickenham Green. We went to our Grange. And my Grange used to be up 12 o'clock at night, drinking tea and digestive biscuits. We climbed up on these mangles, wash mangles. They used to ring out the wash in them old terrace houses. Gravel Road, Twickenham. I got onto the roof and I tapped on my Grange window. She threw her. She went, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you out there?" I said, "Peter's downstairs, will you let us in?" She said, "Why?" I said, "He's drunk, he's had a go at Mum, he threw something at her." So I now decided we should move up here, come up here. "But where are you going to sleep?" I said, "We'll have to sleep with you." And there was the old gas lamps, we had gas lamps then. And she had a lodger, Bill, who was in the kitchen lounge sort of thing. And she had the old hob, cast hob, stove. But, you know, he was only young. My gran was, suppose we'll put it in there. It's not nice, but she was a lady of the night. But she had all the best clientele, Rolls Royces, Bentleys pulling up, everything. She had everything. She had mink coats. But as she got older, she just let herself go. And we used to run around, there was on the balusters. Things we used to do was balance on them. At that age, used to walk along the top. Silly things used to do. And there was a woman downstairs, I'll never forget her name, Mrs. Stokes. She was as deaf as a post. And she was a froth at the mouth. I can remember it like mauve sort of thing. And her old man, I don't think he had a lot to do because he was in one room and she was in the scullery, and I used to run downstairs. Go, "Meow, what are you running downstairs for?" And I said, "Oh, now." My gran, she used to go mad. She said, "Oh, you mustn't do that to her." I said, "Yeah, but she's horrible. She's frightening." She was frightening, really frightening. She looked like the Addams family. And then one day, well, my mum, she said she wanted to see us. But she weren't her, it was him, the Irish, the stepfather. He said, "Peter can come back, but I don't want Timothy back." So I had to go back up my gran's. There was a shop up Twickenham Green where we were. It was called Frank's. And there was a pub opposite called the Cherry Tree. And I crawled on the floor and I nicked a load of Mars bars and a load of Tizer and lemonade and cherryade. Went over to Twickenham Green and I knew nobody. And I started giving stuff to the boys on the green. They were playing football. And they looked at me like I couldn't believe who I was, what was happening. Who is this boy? Who's doing this? And then there was this kid, his name's Michael Ash. And there was another boy called Kevin German. And Kevin German said to me, "Where do you live?" They asked me where I lived. I said, "I live with my gran." They said, and I had holes in my shoes, arse out my trousers. So I was in a bad way. Because she couldn't really clothe me. So Kevin said to me, "Would you like to come home with me to my mum and have some food?" I said, "Yeah, all right, yeah, be nice." So I went. And she fell in love with me, as a boy. She felt so sorry for me that she said she wants to foster me. So there was a family, and there was all the brothers. She had 13 children. And the boys that were living at home was Keith, Jackie, Maureen, Lenny, Brian, Kevin, Dorothy, she had polio. She couldn't walk properly. And Sharon. And all the rest were married. So they agreed that she could foster me, and then she had to agree with my mum. My mum said it was fine. I could visit her a certain time, not around the house. I had to go where she worked. And I was with her, and the thing was, because of the way with my aggression, Brian used to be a Middlesex boxing champion, and he wanted to teach Kevin and me boxing. and I made his nose bleed. And I fainted. They couldn't make it out why I fainted. And the reason being was, my father, when he used to beat me, I used to bleed on the legs. I had a cut across my leg where he hit me with the buckle. And that could have been the reason. And after that, I got over it and I carried on boxing. And I was with them till I was about 18. Then in my fourth year, when I went to my fourth year, I got heavy into the boxing, and my stepbrother Brian used to go to All Ins, and they had a boxing school there. So they asked me to go along. But this is the old one. There was an old All In secondary, which is at the back of Amy Park Road. Anyhow, something happened, can't remember now. I played up and we got a detention. So I said to the teacher, I need to get to All In school because I've got a boxing class. They said, you're on detention. So I said, I'm not. I said, what are you going to do? So I got the desk and I went, bang, got me gloves and run out. So I went down to school, and they have forms to make a ring. Not a box, they make a ring. So you've got one form there, one form there, one form there, one form there. And they had two lots, so they had two classes going. So he asked me to go in the spar with this boy, and I was, you know, it was more advanced, but I was all right. You know, they said, yeah, you've got that style. Boxer teacher was Mr. Huban. He was a big man with a moustache, ex-Navy. And he said to Brian, he said he's got potential. He's got potential. So when he comes here in his first year, we'll get him in the boxing class. So they've got them all 6 championships and all that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of my reports I used to throw out. Going on the road, I got caught in the rain. And then your mother say, when we stepped up, where's your report? And I went, oh, I dropped it in the rain. My subjects, the only subject I never really liked was maths. I wish I'd have taken it up more. You don't, in hindsight, you don't know how much you're going to need it. You know, and everything, all work, whatever you do. So, yeah, I was getting on all right. And there was a kid there, his name was Leslie Limbrick. He was a pet of the boxing class. And he was a national champion. So Mrs. Huban said, you can spar with him. But just take it easy, don't go too many. Because we've done a brawl. So we did. We sparred, it was all right. Anyhow, one day we was playing football outside. And I accidentally caught him in the leg. So he went to hit me. So I nutted him. And I'd done his nose. And the boxing master had come out and see us. So after school, grudge fight in the ring. So anyhow, when he got us in the ring, and I was boxing him, I went bang, and I hit him, and he had the biggest nose you ever seen, like a light bulb, and he had blood. So after, Mr. Huban was protected and got the hump, and he said I should go bang, and he hit me, and he shouldn't have done that. that was wrong. So I said, you wait and see what's going to happen to you. So anyhow, my stepmom, she got on the phone. And she's a big old girl, works in the pub. And she said, you shouldn't have hit him, this blah, blah, blah. And he was very sorry about it, really sorry. So after, he had to be a bit careful. So he didn't put me in with him anymore. And then they had an exhibition. And because we were the same weight, they wanted us two to go in the ring. So I was talking to his brother and I said, what is it Leslie don't like? He said, if you hit him in the nose. I thought, yeah, I know that. So we were at exhibition at Fortescue House, where the boys, it's like, it was a home then, wasn't it? They do on the Wimbledon, the tennis, ball boys, that's him. And a lot of the kids I knew. So they were cheering me on. It's an exhibition. So you're showing how it should be done. And I caught him on the nose. And he let one, he really let go. And we ended up having a bit of a scrap. He didn't like it, the master. He said, I've done it again. He said, you came in here to do an exhibition. He said, you ended up. But they liked it. They were all clapping. You know, they like a good scrap. But in the end, we ended up best friends after that. He never challenged me. Never again, we never had no. Because we got on alright. I went through as you go through the system, met a few girls, you know, like girlfriends. And as I was getting that little bit older, I was starting to wear my stepbrother's clothes, which was winkle pickers, all suede jerkins, jeans, and a leather jacket, and I used to go to school like. So he didn't like that, and Mr. Eubank said, you can't come to school like that. I said, my uniform's in the wash. Anyhow, that was it really. I didn't really get on with that well after that. And then when the fourth year came, being as nobody, like, just had a foster mum. So I had to fend for myself really, now. So anyhow, Brian was working at this place called Arthur Gibson's. They made all the shuttering for the QE2 and shutters for the cafes, you know, them shutters on the road. So he got me a job, and he got me his job in, it was actually in a joinery shop. So I think it's about £5. You used to get £5 a week, that's about right. So much as in what the money was like. And I was, you know, I wasn't as fast as the other one, because that's their job. So he turned around, can you go a bit faster? So I looked at him. I said, well, yeah, I'm only just starting. You know, and for some reason, he called me a black bastard. So when he done that, I picked a file up and I hit him. And then I was fighting as I was 16 then, and I was fighting a man. So the other brother went to get involved, and then they went in. He said, "You're fired." They fired me, but they made a racist remark. So I went in, and I told my stepbrother, and he was going to come in and hit him. So the foreman, Ernie, he said to my brother Brian, it looks like he ain't going to last long. I might give him a try in here, in the engineering bit. So when they heard what had happened, I said he called me a black bastard for no reason. Why'd you hit him with a file? I said, I just picked it up, didn't realise, just done it. I said, he was a grown man. So, we try you in here. Mother said, you're home early. I said, yeah. I said, I got a sack. I said, what? What for? I said, fighting. She said, what is it with you? I said, it wasn't that. I said, they take the mickey out of me. And I stood up for myself. So my neighbour turned around and said, there's a job going, it was tailors. My stepmum turned around and said, oh, go for the interview. So she said, smarten yourself up. So I went down to Twickenham, senior manager interviewed me. I went back, I said, I've got the job. I said, good, right. You're not going to mess it out, I said, no. I can't, what can I do? You know, I'll just, go along what they want. When you see the customer, you had to make the sale if you can. And the idea, you went out, and if you see somebody looking at a material, you go out and make out that you're just looking at the window, and then you look, so, oh, you're interested in it? And they go, oh no. Then would you like to come and have I can show you a nice suit in there. What's wrong? So you got them. And he didn't like this, that assistant manager. And once he caught me once and he tripped me as I was going out. And I had an argument on this. I was like that. I used to argue if he was in the wrong. I'd argue. And then I got called in again. So I went back on the demolition. I think I moved to my real mother's down in Sherman Road. And right opposite, there was a building site. So my stepfather said to me, he was Irish, and he said, there's a load of work over there, and they're all Irish over there. He said, I'll have a word, we'll get a job. So I went over there, had a word with the foreman. He said, yeah, you've got to start in the morning. Anyhow, I was on the yard quite a bit of time, and I thought, I'm going to get rid of the scooter. I'm going to get a car. So I bought a Cortina Mark 1, like the Lotus. And then a friend of mine who I knew at the gym, he was a surveyor at Notting Hill Housing Trust. And he used to say to me, I can get you some work at Notting Hill. The secretary that used to sign the invoices, say her name was Evadne. Anyhow, we was chatting and we got on really well. And we got engaged. And the only problem was I was drinking a little bit. And she used to have a drink sometimes. And then we'd clash. Well, no, I mean, I was at home. I'd just done a job, extension, and she said to me she was going to her sister's down in Bognor, in the Caribbean. And I got a phone call, and I said, where are you? She said, I didn't know how to tell you this, but I didn't go down to see my sister. I'm having an abortion. I said, what's all having an abortion? She said, I didn't tell you. I said, you never told me you was pregnant. She said, well, I didn't have to, it didn't show, did it? So she had the abortion. And when she had it aborted, that was it. I pulled the phone out of the wall and finished. And then I met this girl in Southend. I was working down there, and she'd never been up to London. And so I said to her, well, I live in Twickenham, where's that? She didn't know where it was. So I brought her up. She came up, and we was together about a couple of years, same problem. She drank, we clashed. And then a mate of mine, he says to me about working on the door. First one I did was in Putney. It's called Reflex, but I never knew this. They told me that it was going to be like a quiet night. It meant to be a gay bar. But what happened was the promoter didn't tell anybody, and they made it a rave, an acid party. And I was doing it on my own. So I had my car parked outside, and I had my dog sitting in the car. And there was a problem in the club on the stairs, and they had a pool table, and this guy put a pool ball in a sock and was ranting around. So when I see him come on the stairs, I aimed at him, got him. As I got him out, and it was a big thing. So I got the dog out, and he's a big German Shepherd. And as I got him out, we chased him up the road, got him out, and anyhow, calmed it down. And when I went back in, and I went downstairs because it was starting to calm down a bit after the trouble, there was a big guy at the bar with an overcoat, a couple of guys around him, and he introduced himself. He was the doorman of the club. That was his regular. I was just standing in. Then he said to me, you know, it seems like you handled it pretty well. Do you want to work with me? And I went, no, it's all right. I've got a regular job. I'm just helping out. He said, oh, you've done well on your own. He had a good reputation, and he was a very good friend of Ronnie Biggs, the train robber, and he helped him out when they came over the wall. So then you knew that he was a good source. And then I've done a couple of jobs, I've done a few raves, and I was working at a club where it were. Let's be careful, this is going to go on the YouTube. They want me to sell their drugs, and I wouldn't do it, because the people that I'd got work from was Terry Adams, who's well known. I'd done a couple of nights, and then my job come back where I was over the Middlesex and Arts in Harrow, and with a couple of friends of mine, John and Phil, and we used to train together in Putney, so we worked together. We always watched each other's back. If there was any problem in the club, Phil watched my back, I watched his back, we fight together. You know, if you had a row which was in the club, you had to go in. if you seem not to go in, you ain't working the club. Your pal's in trouble, you got to go in. This guy had a bottle. I see it in his pocket. As he was fighting this bloke, I run out, which I shouldn't have done it. And as I went out, the door opened up and all this crowd come out, and all I can remember was I got a bash in my eye. So we don't know what if it was a knife or a bottle. And my eye actually fell on my cheek. Because when you smash a bottle and you smash it hard, it cracks, and it went from there like that, and I still see the blood, but I could visually see the person. So I grabbed hold of his head, his nose, and I wouldn't let go of it. And I was trying to hit him, but I couldn't. All I could see was this blur. And then my pal John come running out, and they all tried to get me in. And when they see my face, they said, "He's got to go to the hospital." He's rushing to the hospital. So this girl took me in the taxi. I went to Edgware, I think it was. They stitched it up and they put all these injections in your eye. And that's when you feel the pain. And that's when Terry Adams said to me, you know, his other work. His brother's got a place up in EC1 Club. His name was Pat. He was alright. I mean, I went up there, not a bad job. You start at 9 and finish at 6 in the morning. And it's so airy out there, you won't believe it. There's so much moist on the floor. It's where they take their drugs and their drink. They're sweating, dancing, you know, and you're in this atmosphere. But you never realise, in hindsight, you're breathing it in all this nicotine and that. You know, and it goes in your lungs, and I don't smoke. I used to come home, my stuff used to be black. All my waistband in my trousers. You had to wash them and put them out in the line. Yeah, and then after that I got, you know, recommended because I was good what I used to do. So I went into Regent Street and I was working in a wine bar called Corks. And a lot of people came in there, and Frankie Fraser, the gangster, that they call him the hatchet man, the chopper. So he came in there with his wife, and there was a problem on the door, and they weren't going to let him in. And I knew, I said, "You've got to let him in." I said, "You know, he ain't a problem." And his wife, she was real nice, you know. I let him in, and after that, where I've been working in London for quite a long time, I was getting to the age where, you know, people never knew my real age. I was working with guys in their 20s and their 30s. I was about 30, maybe 36. There was a couple of, you know, older doormen. But as you're getting older, you work in the clubs, but you understand the door a lot more, so you can see people, and if they ain't got the right clothes on, they usually say they're not allowed in with trainers. But you do get some that are quite violent, and you know, you just then you have to earn your money. Well, where I was working in a club, it's called Moonlighting in Greek Street, and it's R&B, all R&B, and it's like majority was black, Jamaican, Nigerian. So the people who used to come in there, they had a kind of a charity night, what they call charity night. And they had John Fashanu, the footballer, Lorne Hannigan, the boxer, Lennox Lewis, Herbie Hyde. But the people, you know, when they had nights, sometimes you get good tips. Because you're doing a job. You know, you're making it safe for them. And then they had the Temptations. They were in town and they came down. So we had to look after them as well. And the other one was, there's Mary Wells. There's one of the soul singers. Tina Turner. She came down there. There was a lot of celebrities. It was a good, you know, good club. So I worked there, you know, for quite a long time. I ended up as head doorman. As things got on, you know, the clubs were getting a bit quiet. So then he said what I might do, I might have to cut your nights down because we ain't got the nights. So I got other work and I worked at other clubs, a place called Cairo Jacks. Then somebody said to me, there's a job going in Twickenham. So I thought, I don't really want to work in Twickenham because that's where I used to live. You know, I've worked all around London and I've met all these people. But this bar was called RJ's and the fellow who owned it was Wally. But the people that used to go in there, they were all the gangsters and they all come down. And I knew loads of them from the clubs where I worked. So, yeah, I worked at a place called Leisure Lounge. Oh, my socks are out there. Hang on, Julie. Shit. Bloody hell. That was handy, wasn't it? I put the broom on it and fished it up.
Yeah. Well done.
Stepbrother, Kevin, he died. He was working on the motorways, but he had an accident. He had brain damage, and the doctor told him that if you don't stop drinking, you'll hemorrhage. And he got married, had a lovely little family. He moved down to Hastings, and I got a phone call one day. We fell out. That was the one where I was telling you about the fights and all that, you remember? And I was on my way down to Brighton with this girl. And I done it, how I got over that, couldn't do it now. I went over the island and come back. So I done like a U-turn. And then I got there, and I got there just in time. And all the family were by his bed crying. And I went there and I grabbed his hand and I said, I think it's time that we bury this hatchet, don't you? And he just grabbed my hand like that. And then he'd gone. So they all appreciated what I'd done. And with his wake, we all went down there. He had a big wake. I mean, he had a lot of respect then because he was a good plumber. So in Hastings, he made a killing. And yeah, so that was it, you know, and that was part of my life really, because I met him and I was in the home. Took him over Ham Common, he was running around, shook himself like that, and all this blood come out. I took him to the Blue Cross up in Victoria. She said, I know it's going to hurt you, but he's in a lot of pain. She said, the only thing I'm going to suggest, I could sew him up again. You could take him home. But it ain't gonna work. He's not gonna be happy. Anyhow, I said, well, you've got to do it, His big collar, all studs on it, with Kuros, and his little medallion with the address and phone number. She said, would you like to see him? I said, yeah, of course I would. I said, I've had him all them years. And if I tell you the story, what he's gone through, he ate my steroids, everything like that. She said, I can believe it. I gave him a good life. He's been everywhere. I mean, he was down South End with the girl that I was engaged to. They see him. Everybody fell in love with him. I used to work on the doors with places, people violent, took him with me. He would just look at them and that'd be it, and growl. That's my protector. When I was there working, I was introduced. This guy, his name was, and he was a hitman up in London. And he actually said, I've got a couple of friends. Well, I won't go right to it, but I ended up getting nicked with 16,000 up on the A3 in Asda's. I realised, you know, I haven't done this sort of thing. I know a bit about being a criminal, but I wasn't that clued up. So I took the bait and I called him. So he said, there's going to be a meeting. I think big bloke, a big fella, with a suede coat. And I thought, he's got a fucking gun. And I was in a Land Rover, left-handed door. So he didn't see it, so he come to the right. So he tapped. And he said, so. So he said, have you got a package? Yeah. Do you want money? Yeah. So I gave him £5,000. And he gave me the equivalent of, I don't know, 10 grand. I was stupid because everybody said to me, why don't you take somebody with you? But being me, how I used to be, I thought I could do everything on my own. I could take care of it on my own. And I don't need anybody. And it was wrong. So he was a top copper, flying squad. They thought I was Mr. Big. So anyhow, I made a phone call. He said, I'll come down and collect the money. And then they'd be in touch. Mm. And that was the call, the big one. When they called me and they said, we need 16,000. Can you get 16,000? I said, I don't know. I'll find out. So I called him and he said, yeah, make the meet, we can get it. It'll be in a wrap sack. You'll pick it up on the A3 and you'll meet in the Asda's car park. Anyhow, I looked at him, I see him, got into as I got in and I had the bag, he said, have you got the package? He said, it's there. No doubt. He made the phone call. Bloke, that massive big guy with a lumberjack shirt, parked by the window, put all the money into a bag, envelope, stuck it. He went away, they made the phone call. All of a sudden, as I looked up, I see all these people come running out the top of the shop by the camera. So I grabbed hold of him by the neck and said, if I'm going to go, you're coming with me. because I thought I was going to be shot by women in common and done. And I grabbed him like that. I said, "You're old Bill." The next minute, bang on the windscreen, truncheon. Put his hat, as he put his hat on, police like that. I fucking pissed myself, because I didn't piss myself because they were coppers. I thought I was going to get shot. So I said to him, "Thank God for that." And he looked at me and he went, "We've never had that in our life." I said, "Have you heard of how they got shot?" So now I know where you're going from. So that was it. Well, I sacked my first solicitor because he said, "You're going to get 13 years. You're a lot of good, you are." But there was a guy there who was a barrister. His name was Squirrels. And they brought him down to me and they said, "We've looked at your case. You've sacked this other guy. We might be able to get you off with, you've got 13 years. We know that is there standing. But we can mostly get it down to 9. And then if we win an appeal, maybe 7.
Did you go in after sentencing?
I went back to the Scrubs. I was there. I finished off by remand. They wanted me to do 9 months there, 9 months in Swellside,
Where's that?
Isle of Sheppey, 9 months in Coldley,
Where's that?
that's Woking, and we ended up in the appeal courts up in the Strand, and they was livid with it. They said, "Well, we can't believe it. This man is never a player. He's never the big man. He's a gopher. He's been used as a gopher. And the time that he's done now, but we will give you, the most we can see here is 7 years." I went to back to Swellside and then went to Coldley. And then in Coldley they said to me, "Do you work in your time here?" I did an MVQ in painting, cooking, a lot of things. I've got a lot of degrees.
Good.
Welding, and then they said, "We got you a decat to Latchmere because you're over that way." I knew Tricia years ago. So when I came out, I knew her anyhow. She had a problem in the marriage because he used to drink a lot, and she used to tell me about it. So I suppose I relied on her. I called her from the prison, so she knew that I was going to come out, and she said, "If you want to come round for dinner, I can cook you dinner, because you're on your town visits. And when you're going to work on the town visits, which I was doing at 5 o'clock in the morning." Sorry. Yeah, so I used to come round, have breakfast, and have a relax for an hour, and then I used to go to work, go and do the bathrooms, clean the bathrooms, masticing all these hotels. And so when I was released, we got together. I'd done some bricklaying, roofing, but it didn't bring in enough, and they were gambling the money. She didn't like it. She spoke to her son, who I knew, Tony, very well, because she used to come visit me, and he offered me the job. He said, "You can drive the truck and help me on the roofs. I've got apprentices and that. You just go and get the material." But it wasn't a fortune, and she weren't happy because he took a few liberties. We had a few arguments, and I took the truck back to him a couple of times, And then he asked me to come back. And she said then, she knew there was a problem. You've got to get a job, proper job. So she got me on the buses. And then when I got on there, they told me, they said, you have to go in front of a judge to find out about your case and if we're going to grant you the PCV licence. And that was a right headache. And they said to me, you'll get your licence. If you have any problems, you'll lose that licence and you'll be back inside. Well, the worst thing I should do, being a doorman, is driving a bus. Because the kids are so arrogant and you've got drunks on there and they knew what was going to happen. They could see it coming. I mean, there was a couple of times I had to aim a couple of people off the bus, got threatened with bottles and things like that. It's worse than being on the door. I was there for 6 years and in the end ended up with bowel cancer. My wife, she had breast cancer. At the same time I had bowel cancer. So they said to me, you can't drive like this, can you? I said, no. I went in, I had chemo. I fighting it, I fought it. And then they asked me, do you want to come back? I said, not really, no, because the thing is on the buses, if you've got a very good constitution, you need to go to the toilet. They've got no toilets. And the worst thing you do is hold your stomach. That's why a lot of these bus drivers get problems. But nobody comes up with any ideas. One day they will, they realise, but there's a lot of bus drivers get prostate cancer and all things with their bowels and that. So, that was it. So they laid me off and then I took a retirement. Well, actually, it was when I first got my prison sentence. And one of the SOs said to me one day, he said, Rod Davidson, you've got a long time to go. That was then when they granted 13 years. They thought it was only 13 years. So you need to do something concrete. He said, you box, you keep yourself fit. Why don't you write your life story? I said, no, I don't really want to do that. Hang you behind the door. So he said, well, I'll give you some 8x4 sheets. And if you think you want to write, then just carry on writing. So I started it. Thought about it and carried it on. Decided I like doing this. It was interesting. But when I had the bowel cancer, it gave me something to do. So my brother, they bought the laptop. And I just carried on. And here we are. Well, actually, what happened was, her boy, Tony, he said, you've been courting me, Mum. I knew you was courting her when you was in prison. I never said nothing. He said, so, if you want, I'm the oldest one, you want my permission, you can marry her. So I came home, I was older. I had Tony's blessing. So we arranged the marriage and we got married in the registry office up in Sheen. And then we had the reception, which was in Lansbury Club. And we had about 500. And I paid for it. So my mother actually was pretty good. She gave us, I think she gave us £5,000 towards it. And then my brother paid for the honeymoon, which was in Italy. And it wasn't the warmest. When we went, you'd think it'd be a bit warm, but their weathers fluctuate sometimes in Italy, or the south.
Where did you go for the honeymoon?
Elba. That's where her house is. It was quite a do, really. You know, you go down the beach, you could swim. And she went, this was funny. She went in the sea, and all the locals were there, and she got bit by a starfish, which they call it Medusa. In Italy, they call it Medusa. And then when she got bit, I did a John Wayne. I got hold of it and bit it and spat and breathed it and spat the whole lot out. And all the Italians were all clapping. Yeah. And he says to me, you need now to go and get some brandy to put on it. Oh, I flew in. I said to him, have you got some? I slipped straight on the floor and went over the tables. And I was laying on the floor, he's looking, where are you? I said, I'm here. So I got up and I was injured. So I thought I could do the brandy as well. Anyhow, I got to her, give her the brandy. And then we just carried on the honeymoon. It was good. The weather was nice. Food was nice. Her mother was my sister-in-law's mum. She was really good. She cooked us a lovely meal. But we had the apartment above. So we went downstairs. We had the food with her mum. We come up. She gave Teresa some limoncello. And she said, she's got a bit of a cough. Oh, she said, you can take the bottle out. I thought, well, no. So she took the bottle out, she drank the whole lot. So the honeymoon went out the window. And then we came back and husband and wife. Yeah, 2018. So I was in bed and the phone went and Tracy said, it's the police. What they want? They said they asked about Mrs. House. Give me the phone. He said, you're Tim, aren't you? You're the older one. I said, yeah. He said, well, got some bad news. I said, what's that? Oh, I was asleep. They said they found your mother in the morning. She passed away early hours in the morning. The undertakers came. I would not let them take her. My brother said, you've got to let them. I said, no. It's my mother, I said. And I just laid there with her. And eventually I said to them, they can take her. And that broke my heart. She knew she was never really a mother to us, but she loved us in her own way. We found letters, how much she thought of us and everything else. So it all come back to us. So yeah, then we had to bury her. And that was hurtful. A good funeral for her, a good send-off. The thing is, she wanted illness. She's never really been abroad as such. I think she's been to Florida with her grandchildren when she was younger, right? But she's never really been to Mediterranean. Never done anything like that. So I said, well, go on a cruise. You drive to Southampton and you pick the boat up at Southampton and you go on to, what's the first port of call we went? I think it was Gibraltar. I think it was the first one. We went to the south of France after, from Gibraltar. And when we was coming back from the south of France, then we was going to Barcelona. And actually, when England was playing Germany in the Europeans, you remember? 96, we went up on the deck. We were sitting there watching the sun go down. She said, I feel tired. I said, right. So she went downstairs. So she said, I'm just going to sleep. I sat there watching the football. And then when I looked up to see if she was all right, I noticed she was still. So I went up to her and I said, you all right, Trish? So I tried picking her up to get to the bathroom, but I was quite strong then, but it was hard, she was dead weight. So I put her back, I said, love, you had a stroke, you're having a stroke. I don't know what to do. I was panicking. So I called the steward straight away. They got through to the captain. I said, I think my wife's having a stroke. How do you know? I said, well, I know the F and the A, C and E, and her arms and her mouth and everything. He said, right, we'll be rushing down. Medics came down with a chair, oxygen, and they were taking her away and they took her. I said, what should I do? I don't know what to do. He said, the only thing you can do is, I'm terribly sorry, I can see you're in a situation. He said, just get the clothes ready, because we're going to have to get her an air ambulance to Barcelona. So anyhow, I came back, I was shouting out to the Lord. I said, Lord, please, please show me what to do, tell me what to do. And this voice came through and said to me, calm down, pack them clothes, do this. You've got to remember, her son passed away before we left, and that could have brought this trigger it on. She had a thing called diverticulitis, and that's when you've had the wrong sort of diet previous. When she met me, she'd give the smoking up, started to give the drinking up, but the damage was done. And well, she had the breast cancer, didn't she? And then I had the bowel cancer on top of that. We both had it together. But when she had the diverticulitis, that was, she thought she had cancer in the bowels. And then she ended up with a colostomy bag, and that was very bad. When she came out of hospital the second time, she'd had a bit of chicken and the bone got caught in her intestine, and they didn't know, because she was on blood thinners, warfarin, whether she had enough blood in that sort of area to cope with taking part of that bowel away. So they gave her about a 60-40 chance of living. I was up at the hospital up and down. I got a lot of stress on me. I didn't see it coming, and I passed out in the bedroom. She was in hospital, the first one, and then they took me to the hospital, and I was there for a month. They were doing all experiments, why this and that and that. And in the end I said to the surgeon, my heart, you said is enlarged, why? I said, well, I used to take anabolic steroids for bodybuilding, and he said, that's the reason it's happening. So they sent me home, medication. She came home and she was sitting in a chair and I had a seizure over there. I didn't have one, I had 7. Then it got a blue light, got me to the hospital. The top surgeon came in and he said, we've looked at your results, Tim. We can't give you a heart transplant because your heart is what they call rubbish. You've damaged it. The only thing we can do is give you a pacemaker. But for that to work, we've got to put one in your neck to see if you can take the pacemaker when we put it in here. I watched everything and I was listening to music. I said, what'd you like? I said, the Beach Boys. So yeah, they've done that, and then he said, you'll be here for about a week. Keep an eye on you. And when I came home, then Tricia had to go back in hospital. Then the diverticulitis took over where we thought she might come through it. She had palliative care. She was going to die. Yeah. And I was in the other room, I could hear her. The death rattle, and that was it. I came out, tried to open her mouth up.
Okay.
That was it. It's her birthday tomorrow. Well, I was sitting here and one of my mates across the road, he'd been on the thing called Plenty of Fish. So he said to me, why didn't you go on it? I said, no, I can't go on that. I said, all the people know me, they see, what's he doing on there? He just lost his wife. But I did. That's right. But the funny thing about it was, he said, we need a photo. I said, well, you don't want to get too much in my face, I don't want people to see it. So he went through my diary, and when we was on the cruise, me and Tricia, there was the cruise liner. So he took the cruise liner photo, and they all thought I was a captain. I was just looking for a companion. I got back in the gym, started training Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, get me back into the swing of things. I've actually put too much into it. I've been told that, so I'm cutting it. I wasn't doing this for gains, I was doing it just for me, for satisfaction of doing something with what I've had in my mind. But now I can see where it's gone. Go there on her birthday, her anniversary. When my foot is better, then I'll go over there. I've been over a few times, but at the moment I just can't bend properly to do the flowers. Go to my mum's on her birthday, which is March, November, which is Poppy Day, and Christmas. I would like to, yeah, when the foot's right. The same, what I did, I light her, I enjoyed it. It was nice. You went to Gibraltar, you went to Italy, Sicily. It's good, lovely. And the Baltics, which was, that was experience.